What's up, y'all? I was going ahead and pulling some statistics for my monthly newsletter and figured I would just go ahead and cut a little bit of a video talking about just the state of the market. Here's where we're at the mid-year point, and just bring some data, bring some information to light, kind of bring some thoughts along the way. So let's just jump into it really quick. We'll start off here with just mortgage rates and where mortgage rates at, where have they been, kind of what's happening for the foreseeable future. So we've got this is just pulling from FreddieMac.com. We're just looking at the mortgage survey here across, and we can see just where we've been trending on like a 15-year versus like a 30-year notes. And here lately, I mean, we've been really kind of hovering into the, say, mid sixes. It was nice getting down, seeing that number start really with a 5 right there back in February of 2026. That certainly sparked a good amount of activity really as we hit the spring market. And then, with the increase that we started to see, I mean, quite literally almost a month later, we started to see some things slow down a little bit. And we'll jump over here to some of these other stats. That way you can kind of see this tracking pattern. This really highlights one of my favorite quotes. This is from the book Psychology of Money, and it talks about like investing, and investing not really being the study of finance. Investing is really just being the study of behavior around money. And so let's kind of show what this actually means in a real world scenario. When I'm looking at market information, I really like to look at the 4 major counties that surround us. That's going to be like Knoxville, Loudon, Anderson, and Blount counties. Now we also work Roane County, Morgan County, Jefferson County, and Sevier County. Those are kind of the major metro here around the greater Knoxville area. But for the sake of this video, we're really just going to focus on the big 4. I would call that K-Lab, right? Knox, Loudon, Anderson, and Blount counties. And this is going to be June sales data. We get this information refreshed every month on the first of the month. And I always like to take some time early in the month just to stay on top of the information, because knowledge is power, right? So here, looking into Knox County over the last year, we can see the number of listings has been hanging, bouncing anywhere between, say, 1,500 houses and really peaking into the holiday season. They're around like 1,900 homes, and really over the last, call it, quarter, we've been hanging in this about 1,700 houses in total active listings. Now, this is kind of interesting when we look at the sold data really hitting like a low point or dropping there in January and February of this year. It's not surprising given, again, typical like buyer behavior. As the holidays, things slow down a little bit. But we did watch a number of new listings hit the market going in kind of an early point of spring market, and really jumped there into March, April, with last month having 962 properties to sell in Knox County, with 764 ended up selling. Now, there's a couple of key metrics here that I wanted to share that I think a lot of my peers tend to overlook. One of my favorite ones to look at is the absorption rate. So this is how we really measure the speed of the market and just the overall demand. We track this in terms of number of months worth of inventory. For context, what this is going to look like when you hear terms like buyer's market, seller's market, like what does that mean? It usually tracks to this number here. So historically speaking, when we look at a balanced market, well, that would be right around like 5-6 months worth of inventory, and anything above that, you would start to see things trend more in a buyer's market. And then on the south end of that, say lower than 5 months of inventory, we would consider that really a seller's market, right? And we've been in the seller's market now for pretty much the last decade in this area. So no real changes in that overall. We've seen that absorption rate peak up and then really drop when we saw kind of a fervor of activity again as rates really hit their low point back there in February, and then start to climb back up to where we're now sitting right around 2.8 months worth of inventory, just round up, and you could call it 3 months. So meaning if nothing new came on the market, it would take us through here July, August, September, and potentially like into October before we would just like sell out completely. There'd be no more homes on the market. The other factor I want to look at here, the other figures I want to look at is the sold to list price ratio. So where a property goes on the market for, it lists at versus where it ultimately sells. And I talk about this a lot with my seller clients. We say that oftentimes the listing or the marketing price is not the same as your actual sold price. And oftentimes how you position a home, the marketing price is going to be a big determining factor for where you ultimately sell for. And we still do see multiple offers even in this market with a more inflated uh, interest rate. It's all about how you position your home. And so here, just looking at the information in Knox County, we saw a sold to list sale to list price ratio of 97%. Last month before that, 97.3. But even at the, when we go back to the low there around the holiday season, we're at 94.5%. So buyers were getting really good deals. You had sellers that had inventory that was sitting there on the market there through and up into the holidays and might have been more eager to cut a deal at that point, just ready to go ahead and move as the holidays hit. Days on market is always an interesting one. Now, this tracks the average days on market. I really like to look here at the median days on market. That's really that dead middle spot. Like half the homes are selling here in this case at 14 days or less. So again, really strong activity for the homes that are priced well in really good presentable condition. They move quickly. Homes that are maybe priced a little bit too high or their condition isn't right or maybe some marketing is off on there, well, then those homes can sit a little bit longer. So we've seen like a median of 14 days with a average of 14 days. The median sale price for Knox County last month was hanging at $415,000. That's up 0.39% from year over year. But interestingly, down 0.25 if we track over the same time period year to date through 2026 as we would through 2020, 2025. The average sale price there in like a year over year standpoint is actually up 8.21%. I personally really like to focus here on those medians because that really starts to tell you where a majority of the market or is trending at. Overall, I like to then look here at sold listings. So in Knox County, overall, we had 764 homes sell this past month compared up to same time last year, 736, so 3.8% more overall that's selling in here, a 3% change, yep, in there. And then I start to just take a look and see like where is the activity actually happening? Where are we getting the most amount of activity in sales? We're seeing right here in this 300,000, 300 to 350, 350 to 400 be like a real strong activity spot, activity point here in our market. And as we get here into the upper price points, this is where we also can see some additional activity happen. I know for me, I've certainly seen homes that are, say, if you're priced right and you're in that 300 to 400 bracket, it still has a strong chance of moving. And there's a lot of new construction inventory that's been hitting the market over the last couple of years. And so with that, we're seeing buyers are having a real choice to go and look at either homes that are pre-existing, right? And they could also go spend their dollars on a brand new construction home. And so if you miss the mark when it comes to the presentation or the pricing, it can really hurt you later on. I then like to look here at the pending sales because that really starts to tell me like leading indicators, right? How many homes went under contract last month? And so here in Knox County, we actually had 773 homes go under contract in June, which should then show up here in July sales data, which we'll get August 1st. And I'll certainly work to circle back and share this information. Active listings, this tells me again total number of inventory that's out there, and then new listings, so new homes that came on the market being 955 overall. So overall, I would say Knox County still is trending really, really strongly. It's certainly the biggest metro market here for our area, so it's an area where we're going to see a large amount of the activity. But let's go jump into some of these other ones and take a look and see what's happening over there. Next, I'm going to jump here into Loudon County. That is just over to our west. That is the next county west of us. That's going to have communities like Loudon, Lenore City, and then Tellico Village, which is I would call like a semi-retirement community. They're positioned along the Tennessee River. So Loudon County, you start to see, right, a lot. One first thing to notice, a lot less inventory overall. Last month in general, it was sitting at 363 total homes up there, with the total number of sales being 123 and a total number of new properties that hit the market 133. So almost the same amount of homes that went on the market ended up selling, which is certainly a very interesting statistic. Again, looking at that absorption rate, we've seen that number come down significantly over the last year, where they were nearly what would be considered a balanced market. They're at 5 months worth of inventory, and all the way down here to 3.6 months worth of inventory, and their sold to list price has also risen along with that. So as buyer demand has picked up, so has that sold to list price. It's kind of an interesting correlation there. Going to the days on market, or just a quick summary on that overall. Well, we're seeing that absorption rate again drop. Median sale price is up actually 10% year over year. On the same time, over the same year, it's actually just up 3.2% on it all. And then the median days on market being 32. So, right, comparative to Knox County, though, it's twice the time that it's taken a home in Loudon County to sell compared to Knox County. Total number of sold listings, again, just tracking 123, same amount. 123 last year, actually 123 this year. Pendings there up actually at 127 versus 111 from the same time last year. New listings that hit the market, 133 versus 155. So last year saw more inventory hit the market than what we've had this year. Moving here and into Anderson County. Anderson County is just going to be the next county north of us. That's going to be home to towns like Oak Ridge and Clinton. Oak Ridge being home to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which is one of the largest employers here in the area. So there's a lot of demand that kind of moves in and out of that market. And then Clinton is going to be just up to the northeast of Oak Ridge. And Clinton is a market I would really have my eye on if I was looking to say if maybe I was getting priced out of offerings that Knox County would have. Clinton up there in Anderson County is going to offer a lot of nice amenities. It's a growing market. They've got an amazing 5-year plan to ride the wave of growth that we're going to see around the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And your dollar goes really far up there. It's a beautiful community. I'm very excited to see how Clinton's going to continue to evolve. Looking here, though, at the overall county statistics, we can see the total active inventory has sat around 250 homes, so even less than what we've seen up in out in Loudon County, with the total number of new properties hitting the market at 128 versus 99 sold here back in June. The absorption rate has ridden a little bit of a roller coaster, dropping all the way down to 2.7 months worth of inventory back there in March. And as of last month, sitting there again, right about 3 months worth of inventory. And that sold to list price has also ridden a little bit of a roller coaster. But I would say here on the whole, right, hanging around 95 to 96.5%. They're sold to list price. So when most sellers are getting close to what they're asking for, and provided that they're priced right. Okay, looking there at their median days on market, well, they were at 11 days on market over the last month, so they're actually within the lowest so far. Anderson County again is heating up pretty strong. I'd really have my eyes on that. Look at the great growth they're having, up nearly 4.5% on the median sale price for that county. Pendings, where that's going to show. Well, pendings, we're going to see 99 total pending, up 8% from last year, where they had 91 homes. So we're seeing a bit of a late surge in the market when it comes to activity. I was talking with a number of my peers here over the last few weeks, and a number of people were really reporting some slower showing activity, especially through the first couple of weeks of June. And a lot of them were largely attributing that to just clients traveling in and out of town, summer vacation. And so now that people are back over the last, say, week or two, we have started to see more showing activity pick up, more homes going under contract. So a little bit of a lagging demand, but we're starting to see some activity really pick up as we just head towards the school season. It's going to start up here the second week of August. New listings in Anderson County, finishing out at 128 new properties hitting the market. So again, good, strong demand, things pushing through there in Anderson County. And then we're going to wrap up here. The lab, again, part of that K-Lab, we're going to look at Blount County. Blount County is just to our south, and that's going to house Maryville, Friendsville, Alcoa as some of its kind of major towns that exist within that. an area that has seen a lot of growth. A lot of bigger companies moving to the area are positioning themselves around Maryville and Blount County. A few years ago, we had Smith and Wesson move their entire headquarters from up in the Northeast, move their whole operation here down into just outside of Maryville. They're in Blount County, so bringing hundreds of jobs along with that. They saw an Amazon distribution center open up there. I think Maryville and Greater Blount County is also going to be another one of those markets to really watch over the next couple of years, just for continued growth and expansion. So looking here though at the numbers, right, there was a total of 487 homes throughout the county, with new listings peaking there at 276 and then 208 sales happening. And watch the absorption rate, right, riding that roller coaster, sliding all the way down to that low point, right there as interest rates really hit their lowest point there in February, and then creeping back up. And watching that sold to list price also do a similar thing that as buyer demand picked up. We watched that sold to list price ratio pick up as well, finishing out here last month at 96.7%. Days on market, and I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the median, and right there at 14. So telling a very similar story to what Greater Knox County's had. But here's the interesting thing: is looking at this median sale price data. They're actually up 6.5% year over year, whereas Knox County was not up that high. Year to date, up 1.6%. With total number of pendings happening 212. So that gives me a good, again, speed of the market. We're seeing just this more demand that has been pent up for a long time start to finally make its way out to the market where people are actually putting homes under contract. So what does all this mean? Well, if you are a homeowner, making sure that you are certainly priced well and positioning your property well, you should see your home move pretty quickly. For buyers out there, well, you're still also seeing that there's about a 3 to 4% spread in overall for where they're listing to where they're actually selling. So that should give you some confidence to move forward in some of your negotiations, knowing you might be able to save a little bit of money on there. Maybe that's on price, maybe that's on terms like closing costs, things like that. If you want to dive into your town or your zip code or your home specific, go ahead, reach out. I'll be super happy to help. I'll make sure and I'll just put my information here on this video. If you got any questions at all, certainly happy to help. Hope you all have an amazing week. Be excellent.